all the parents that we need? Everybody's here? Okay, we can get started. Okay, great. So I'm just going to go right from kindergarten, then first, then second, and third, go right up. And I'll call you up. Just a reminder that stay seated throughout the speech. Don't get up in the middle of someone's speech. It will go fairly quickly this morning, so no one, since you just had a break, no one really needs to leave. But if you have some sort of emergency and you need to leave, understand that. But make sure we do our best to not distract the speaker by getting up in the middle of the speech. Make sure we don't come back in the middle of one, and make sure that we're not fidgeting or moving around, definitely not talking while someone's giving their speech. Try to stay still and quiet. That would be fantastic. We have 3 judges judging, 1 judging memorization, Mr. Isig, Snyder's judging how you project and emotion and delivery of your speech, and Mrs. Lamboy is too. And then the homeroom teachers are prompting you for giving your speeches for Speech Off. And so we have them up front. Anything else you need to say, or before we get started, before I start calling people up? All right, then we're going to start. I will also adjust your microphone, so make sure you wait until I adjust it to the right height before we get started. I'll start kindergarten.
The Little Turtle by Rochelle Lindsay. I had a little turtle who lived in a box. He swam in a puddle. He climbed on a rock. He snapped at a mosquito. He snapped at a flea. He snapped at me, and he snapped at me. He caught the mosquito. He caught the flea. He caught the minnow, but he didn't catch me.
Doll's Song by Lewis Carroll. Matilda Jane, you never look at any toy or picture book. I show you pretty things in vain. You must be blind, Matilda Jane. I ask you riddles, tell you tales, but all our conversation fails. You never answer me again. I fear you're dumb, Matilda Jane. Matilda darling, when I call, you never seem to hear at all. I shout with all my might and main, but you're so deaf, Matilda Jane. Matilda Jane, you needn't mind, for though you're deaf and dumb and blind, there's someone loves you, it is plain, and that is me, Matilda Jane.
To do this on. I said that's me this time.
It's just fun.
Sing a Song of People by Lois Lenski. Sing a song of people walking fast or slow, people in the city, up and down they go. People on the sidewalk, people on the bus, people passing, and back in front of us. People on the subway, underneath the ground, people riding taxis, round and round and round. People with the hats on, going into doors. People with umbrellas when the rain van pours. People in turbulence and in slow go, riding elevators, up and down they go. People walking singly, people in a crowd, people saying nothing, people talking loud. People laughing, smiling, grumpy people too, people who just hurry and never look at you. Sing a song of people who like to come and go. Sing a song of city people you see but never know. The Friendly Beast, an old carol from France. Jesus, our brother, kind and good, was humbly born in a stable rude. The friendly beasts around him stood. Jesus, our brother, kind and good. I said the donkey, shaggy and brown. I carried his mother up hill and down. I carried her safely to Bethlehem town. I said the donkey, shaggy and brown. I said the cow, all white and red. I gave him my manger for his bed. I gave him my hay to pillow his head. I said the cow, all white and red. I said the sheep with curly horn. I gave him my wool for a blanket warm. He wore my coat on Christmas morn. I said the sheep with curly horn. I said the dove from rafters high. I cooed him to sleep so he would not cry. I cooed him to sleep, my mate and I. I said the dove from rafters high. And every beast by some good spell in the stable dark was glad to tell of the gift he gave Emmanuel, the gift he gave Emmanuel.
A laconic answer. This story, another famous anecdote about the Spartans' bravery, is from the time of Philip of Macedon, who forcibly unified most of Greece's cities. Long ago, the people of Greece were not united as they are today. Instead, there were several cities and states, each with its own leader. King Philip of Macedon, on land in the northern part of Greece, wanted to bring all of Greece together under his rule. So he raised a great army and made war upon the other states, until nearly all were forced to call him their king. Sparta, however, resisted. The Spartans lived in the southern part of Greece, an area called Laconia, and so they were sometimes called Lacons. They were noted for their simple habits and bravery. They were also known as people who used few words and chose them carefully. Even today, a short answer is often described as being laconic. Philip knew he must subdue the Spartans if all of Greece was to be his. So he brought his great army into the borders of Laconia and sent a message to the Spartans. If you do not submit at once, he threatened them, I will invade your country, and if I invade, I will pillage and burn everything you hold dear. If I march into Laconia, I will level your great city to the ground. In a few days, Philip received an answer. When he opened the letter, he found only one word written there. That word was, if.
Great job. Fantastic job. Good job. We will have grades 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They will be going next, but so that they can watch their classes. We're not able to get everybody in the chapel this year, so you guys will have to go back to your class. You're able to see all of those in your classes give their speeches, so that was good. And then we'll clean, spray down, bring all the upper school down in 4th grade, and they'll do the next part of our speech off. But y'all did a fantastic job on speech meet. That's why I have a dress down day today. You guys did really good. Those of you dressed up for speech off can change into casual clothes if you want, or you can keep the clothes you have on. It's fine either way, whatever you want to do. But great job, both speech meet and today. Good job. All right, 8th grade has arrived. We can get started. We're going to go 4, 5th, 6th, 7, 8, and we are going to give you your score sheets for 8th. Any other score sheets we're still missing? That's just it, just 8th? Okay. We have our judges. We have Mrs. Reisig doing memorization, and Mrs. Snyder and Mrs. Lamb will be doing your presentation for Speech Off. Teachers will be prompting. They have your speech to help you and prompt you. And yeah, so that's, make sure we have our cell phones on silence. Make sure that you guys aren't making noise or talking during the speech. You shouldn't have to get up in the middle. This is going to go pretty quickly. But if you have to, some emergency, make sure you do it as best you can between speeches, and don't come back in until you hear them clap, and make sure you're not walking in the middle of someone's speech. So just try to stay quiet and be respectful to the person giving your speeches. Trying to think, is there anything else I need to say? Did I forget to say anything? No? We're starting with, we're going to start with 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and go up. That's the way we did it in the lower schools, so we're going to do it now. So we'll call them up, and then they'll come. I'll call them up, sorry. I will call you up, and then you'll come, not your homeroom teacher. So that's good. Thanks for clarifying that. So when I call your name up, I can adjust this to the proper height, make sure, because we're recording, make sure that we got it set correctly. So I'll come up each speech like I did in speech meet, and then we'll make sure it's set proper height, and then we'll go from there. Everybody good? Any questions? All right. Yes, please.
Chicken Little. Chicken Little, author unknown. Mark Twain once said he had known a lot of troubles in his life, and most of them never happened. We imagine many of our fears into existence. To avoid foolish cowardice, refrain from too much mountain making out of molehills. Courage, said Plato, is knowing what to fear. Chicken Little was in the woods one day when an acorn fell on her head. It scared her so much she trembled all over. She shook so hard, half her feathers fell out. Help! Help! She cried. The sky is falling. I must go tell the king. So she ran in great fright to tell the king. Along the way she met Henny Penny. Where are you going, Chicken Little? Henny Penny asked. Oh, help! Chicken Little cried. The sky is falling. How do you know? Asked Henny Penny. I saw it with my own eyes and heard it with my own ears, and part of it fell on my head, Chicken Little said. This is terrible, just terrible, Henny Penny clucked. We'd better run. So they both ran away as fast as they could. Soon they met Ducky Lucky. Hello there, where are you going, Chicken Little and Henny Penny, he asked. The sky is falling, the sky is falling. We're running to tell the king, they cried. How do you know? Asked Ducky Lucky. I saw it with my own eyes and heard it with my own ears, and part of it fell on my head, Chicken Little said. Oh dear, Ducky Lucky quacked. We'd better run. So they all ran down the road as fast as they could. Soon they met Goosey Lucy, waddling along the roadside. Hello there, Chicken Little, Henny Penny and Ducky Lucky, called Goosey Lucy. Where are you all going in such a hurry? We're running for our lives, cried Chicken Little. The sky is falling, clucked Henny Penny. I rang to tell the king, quacked Ducky Lucky. How do you know? Asked Goosey Lucy. I saw it with my own eyes and heard it with my own ears, and part of it fell on my head, Chicken Little said. Oh dear, goodness, squawked Goosey Lucy. I'd better run with you. And they all ran in great fright across a meadow. Before long, they met Turkey Lurkey, strutting back and forth. Hello there, Chicken Little, Henny Penny, Ducky Lucky, and Goosey Goosey, he called. Where are you going in such a hurry? Help, help, Chicken Little cried. We're running for our lives, clucked Henny Penny. The sky is falling, quacked Ducky Lucky. And we're running to tell the king, squawked Goosey Goosey. How do you know? Asked Turkey Lurkey. I saw it with my own eyes and heard it with my own ears, and part of it fell on my head, Chicken Little said. Oh dear, I always suspected the sky would fall someday, Turkey Lurkey gobbled. I'd better run with you. So they ran with all their might until they met Foxy Loxy. Well, well, said Foxy Loxy. Where are you rushing on such a fine day? Help, help, cried Chicken Little, Henny Penny, Ducky Lucky, and Goosey Goosey, and Turkey Lurkey. It's not a fine day at all. The sky is falling, and we're running to tell the king. How do you know the sky is falling? Said Foxy Loxy. I saw it with my own eyes and heard it with my own ears, and part of it fell on my head, Chicken Little said. I see, said Foxy Loxy. Well then, follow me. I'll show you the way to the king. Foxy Loxy led Chicken Little, Henny Penny, Ducky Lucky, Goosey Goosey, and Turkey Lurkey across a field and through the woods. He led them straight into his den, and they never saw the king to tell him the sky was falling.
Resignation Speech of George Washington, December 23rd, 1783. The great events on which my resignation depended having at length taken place, I have now the honor of offering my sincere congratulations to Congress and to presenting myself before them to surrender into their hands the trust committed to me, and to claim the indulgence of retiring from the service of my country. Happy in the confirmation of our independence and sovereignty, and pleased with the opportunity afforded the United States of becoming a respectable nation, I resign with satisfaction the appointment I accepted with diffidence. A diffidence in my abilities to accomplish so arduous a task, which however was superseded by a confidence in the rectitude of our cause, the support of the supreme power of the Union, and the patronage of heaven. The successful termination of the war has verified the most sanguine expectations, and my gratitude for the interposition of Providence and the assistance I have received from my countrymen increases with every review of the momentous contest. While I repeat my obligations to the Army in general, I should do injustice to my own feelings not to acknowledge in this place the peculiar services and distinguished merits of the gentlemen who've been attached to my person during the war. It was impossible the choice of confidential officers to compose my family should have been more fortunate. Permit me, sir, to recommend in particular those who have continued in service to the present moment as worthy of the favorable notice and patronage of Congress. I consider it an indispensable duty to close this last solemn act of my official life by commending the interests of our dearest country to the protection of Almighty God and those who are the superintendents of them to His holy keeping. Having now finished the work assigned me, I retire from the great theater of action, and bidding an affectionate farewell to this august body, under whose orders I have so long acted, I here offer my commission and take my leave of all the employments of public life.
Johnny Appleseed by Rosemary Carr Bennett. Of Jonathan Chapman, two things are known: that he loved apples, that he walked alone. At 70 odd, he was not as could be, but ruddy and sound as a good apple tree. For 50 years, over harvest and dew, he planted his apples where no apples grew. The winds of the prairie might blow through his rags, but he carried his seeds in the best deerskin bags. From old Ashtabula to frontier Fort Wayne, he planted and pruned, and he planted again. He had not a hat to encumber his head, he wore a tin pan on his white hair instead. He nestled with owls, with bear cub and possum, and he knew all his orchards, root, tendril, and blossom. A fine old man, as ripe as a pippin, his heart still light and his step still skippin'. The stalking Indian, the beast in his lair, did no hurt while he was there. For they can tell, as wild things can, that Jonathan Chapman was God's own man. Why did he do it? We do not know. He wished that apples might root and grow. He has no statue, he has no tomb, he has his apple trees still in bloom. Consider, consider, think well upon the marvelous story of Appleseed John.
to talk. The Hypocrisy of American Slavery by Frederick Douglass. Fellow citizens, pardon me and allow me to ask, why am I called upon to speak here today? What have I, or those I represent, to do with your national independence? Are the great principles of political freedom and natural justice embodied in that Declaration of Independence extended to us? And am I, therefore, called upon to bring our humble offering to the national altar and confess the benefits and express devout gratitude for the blessings resulting from your independence to us? Would to God, both for your sakes and ours, that an affirmative answer could be truthfully returned to these questions. Then would my task be light, and my burden easy and delightful. For who is there so cold that a nation's sympathy could not warm him? Who is so obdurate and dead to the claims of gratitude that would not thankfully acknowledge such priceless benefits? Who is so stolen and selfish that would not give his voice to swell the hallelujahs of a nation's jubilee when the chains of servitude have been torn from his limbs? I am not that man. In a case like that, the dumb might eloquently speak, and the lame man leap as an hart. But such is not the state of the case. I say it with a sad sense of disparity between us. I am not included within the pale of this glorious anniversary. Your high independence only reveals the immeasurable distance between us. The blessings in which you this day rejoice are not enjoyed in common. The rich inheritance of justice, liberty, prosperity, and independence bequeathed by your fathers is shared by you, not by me. The sunlight that has brought life and healing to you has brought stripes and death to me. This 4th of July is yours, not mine. You may rejoice. I must mourn. To drag a man in fetters into the grand illuminated temple of liberty and call upon him to join you in joyous anthems were inhuman mockery and sacrilegious irony. Do you mean, citizens, to mock me by asking me to speak here today? If so, there is a parallel in your conduct, and let me warn you that it is dangerous to copy the examples of a nation, Babylon, whose crimes, towering up to heaven, were thrown down by the breath of the Almighty, burying that nation in irrecoverable ruin. Fellow citizens, above your national tumultuous joy, I hear the mournful wail of millions, whose chains, heavy and grievous yesterday and today, render more intolerable by jubilant shouts that reach them. If I do forget, if I do not remember those bleeding children of sorrow this day, may my right hand forget her cunning, and my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. To forget them, to pass lightly over their wrongs, and to chime in with the popular theme, would be treason, most scandalous and shocking, and would make me a reproach before God and the world. My subject, then, fellow citizens, is American slavery. I shall see this day and its popular characteristics from a slave's point of view. Standing here identified with the American bondman, making his wrongs mine, I do not hesitate to declare with all my soul that the character and conduct of this nation never looked blacker to me than on this 4th of July.
Excerpt from Aeschylus Oresteia. Here Athena sets up the first court of law to hear Orestes plead his case for the murder of his mother, exacted to avenge for her murder of Agamemnon, Orestes' father. She establishes the court's authority, the role of the jurors, and settles the verdict. If it please you, men of Attica, hear my decree now. On this first case of bloodletting, I have judged. Hear the reverence of citizens. Their fear and kindred do no wrong, shall hold by day and in the blessing of night alike, all while the people do not muddy their own laws with foul infusions. But if bright water you stain with mud, you nevermore will find it fit to drink. No anarchy, no rule of a single master. Thus I advise my citizens to govern and to grace, and not to cast fear utterly from your city. What man who fears nothing at all is ever righteous? Such be your just terrors, and you may deserve and have salvation for your citadel, your land's defense, such as is nowhere else found among men, neither among the Scythians, nor the land that Pelops held. I establish this tribunal. It shall be untouched by money-making, grave but quick to wrath, watchful to protect those who sleep, a sentry on the land. These words I have unrailed are for my citizens, advice into the future. All must stand upright now, take each man his ballot in his hand, think on his oath, and make his judgment. For my word is said. It is my task to render final judgment here. This is a ballot for Orestes I shall cast.
For Want of a Horseshoe Nail, adapted from James Baldwin. This famous legend and rhyme is based on the demise of England's King Richard III, whose defeat at the Battle of Bosworth Field in 1485 has been immortalized by Shakespeare's famous line, a horse, my kingdom for a horse." It reminds us that little duties neglected bring great downfalls. King Richard III was preparing for the fight of his life. An army led by Henry, Earl of Richmond, was marching against him. The contest would determine who would rule England. The morning of the battle, Richard sent a groom to make sure his favorite horse was ready. "Shoe him quickly," the groom told the blacksmith. "The king wishes to ride at the head of his troops." "You'll have to wait," the blacksmith answered. "I've shoed the king's whole army in the last few days, and now I've got to get more iron." "I can't wait," the groom shouted impatiently. "The king's enemies are advancing right now, and we must meet them on the field. Make do with what you have." So the blacksmith bent to his task. From a bar of iron, he made 4 horseshoes. he hammered and shaped and fitted them to the horses' feet. Then he began to nail them on. But after he fastened 3 shoes, he found he did not have enough nails for the 4th. "I need 1 or 2 more nails," he said, "and it will take some time to hammer them out." "I told you, I can't wait," the groom said impatiently. "I hear the trumpets now. Can't you just use what you've got?" "I can put the shoe on, but it won't be as secure as the others." "Will it hold?" asked the groom. "It should," answered the blacksmith, "but I can't be certain." "Well, then just nail it on," the groom cried, "and hurry, or King Richard will be angry with us both." The armies clashed, and Richard was in the thick of the battle. He rode up and down the field, cheering his men and fighting his foes. Press forward," he yelled, urging his troops towards Henry's lines. Far away, at the other side of the field, he saw some of his men falling back. If others saw them, they too might retreat. So Richard spurred his horse and galloped towards the broken line, calling on his soldiers to turn and fight. He was barely halfway across the field when one of the horse's shoes flew off. The horse stumbled and fell, and Richard was thrown to the ground. Before the king could grab at the reins, the frightened animal rose and galloped away. Richard looked around him. He saw that his soldiers were turning and running, and Henry's troops were closing around him. He waved his sword in the air. "A horse," he shouted, "a horse, my kingdom, for a horse!" But there was no horse for him. His army had fallen to pieces, and his troops were busy trying to save themselves. A moment later, Henry's soldiers were upon Richard, and the battle was over. And since that time, people have said, "For want of a nail, a shoe was lost. For want of a shoe, a horse was lost. For want of a horse, a battle was lost. For want of a battle, a kingdom was lost. And all for the want of a horseshoe nail."
Excerpt from Song of Roland. King Charlemagne avenges the death of Roland. When the king sees the onset of evening, he dismounts in a meadow on the green grass, lies down on the ground, and prays to God that for him he should stop the sun in its tracks, postpone nightfall, and maintain daylight. See, an angel now comes again and speaks to him. Immediately he commanded the king, "Charles, ride on. Daylight will not fail you. You have, as God knows, lost the flower of France. you can avenge yourself on this criminal race." With these words, the emperor mounted his horse. God performed a great miracle for Charlemagne, for the sun remained where it was. The pagans are fleeing, the Franks are in close pursuit. When Charles sees that all the pagans are dead, some slain, and even more drowned, the noble king has got down off his horse. He prostrates himself on the ground and gave thanks to God. The emperor has lain down in a meadow. He places his great spear by his head. That night, he would not remove his armor, and he wore his shining saffron hauberk. He kept laced upon him his helmet, studded with gold and gems, and girt about him his sword, Joyeuse, which had no peer, and whose color changes 30 times a day. We could speak for a long time about the lance with which our Lord was wounded on the cross. Charles has its point. Thanks be to God, which he has had mounted in his golden pommel. Through this honor and this excellence, the name Joyeuse was given to the sword. Frankish barons should not forget it. From it, they derived their battle cry, Montjoie. For this reason, no race on earth can withstand them.
Henry's speech at Agincourt, William Shakespeare. It would be hard to read Henry's address at Agincourt and escape a brief twinge of regret for not having been one of the happy few to fight on St. Crispin's Day. The scene, from Shakespeare's King Henry V, is the English camp the moment before the battle. The year is 1415. Young King Henry of England has landed a well-equipped army in Normandy and begun a campaign to conquer France. Reaching Agincourt, the English forces found themselves facing a much larger French army. Oh, that we now had here but 1/10,000 of those men in England that do no work today. What's he that wishes so, my cousin Westmoreland? No, my fair cousin. If we are marked to die, we are now to do our country loss, and if to live, the fewer men, the greater share of honor. God's will, I pray thee, wish not one man more. By Jove, I am not covetous for gold, nor care I who doth feed upon my cost. It yearns me not if men my garments wear. Such outward things dwell not in my desires. But if it be a sin to covet honor, I am the most offending soul alive. No, faith, my coz, wish not a man from England. God's peace I would not lose so great an honor as one man more methinks would share from me. For the best hope I have, oh, do not wish one more. Rather proclaim it, Westmoreland, through my host, that he which hath no stomach to this fight, let him depart. His passport shall be made, and crowns for convoy put into his purse. We would not die in that man's company that fears his fellowship to die with us. This day is called the Feast of Crispian. He that outlives this day and comes safe home will stand a tiptoe when this day is named, and roused him at the name of Crispian. He that shall live this day and see old age will yearly on the vigil feast his neighbors and say, "Tomorrow is Saint Crispian." Then will he strip his sleeve and show his scars and say, "These wounds I had on Crispin's day." Old men forget, yet all shall be forgot. But he'll remember with advantages what feats he did that day. Then shall our names, familiar in his mouth as household words, Harry the King, Bedford and Exeter, Warwick and Talbot, Salisbury and Gloucester, be in their flowing cups, freshly remembered. This story shall the good man teach his son, and Crispian will ne'er go by from this day to the ending of the world. But we in it shall be remembered. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers. For he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother, be he ne'er so vile. This day will gentle his condition. And gentlemen in England now abed shall think themselves accursed they were not here, and hold their manhoods cheap, whiles any speaks that fought with us upon St. Crispin's day.
All right, that was our last speech for Speech Off. You guys did a fantastic job. Good job. Good. This year's speech meet was very good. A lot of great speeches, and Speech Off was just fantastic. You guys represented very well your classes and represented yourself. Appreciate the hard work. You guys who came and give your speeches today had to do a whole nother week of work to refine it that last bit before Speech Off. So I appreciate the extra work that you did, and it definitely showed. You guys all did a great job. We will have everything tallied up by the end of the day and sent out by email. Thank you to our judges for volunteering to come in and help us throughout the week, last week, and then also today. I really appreciate the help. You guys will have a great rest of your day and great weekend. Just really proud of you guys and appreciate the hard work.